Okay, hello, everyone. This is Dr. Garrett Smith, also known as the Nutrition Detective around these here YouTube parts. And today, just so you guys know, early on for the chat, I am definitely going to be, today is all about zinc. Okay, we are at episode 204, and we're going to talk about zinc today because we have a new product out, liquid zinc picolinate. That was a fan favorite, a client favorite, and I wanted to go over stuff about zinc and how important it is and why you probably aren't getting enough and from food by itself, and you could probably use some more, and I'll talk about all that stuff. So if you have questions in the chat, I am absolutely giving priority to questions about zinc today because that's the topic. Okay, so if you have questions on zinc, you know, now's the time. Am I going to be giving people individual zinc dosages? No, that's not what this is for. Okay, but if you have had reactions to zinc, or if you've had questions or other stuff, that would be great. So we'll get more into the liquid zinc picolinate later, but it's a great product. It is. We have reformulated it. It was gone for 11 months, and we worked with the manufacturers. We talked to multiple manufacturers to get it made. There's a reason why the all water ones aren't out there anymore, is because no manufacturers will make it because they're concerned that things are going to grow in it. If you just have water and zinc, they're concerned. So we reformulated it, and now we have it out, and you have a 2 milligrams per drop ability to dose now. So again, we'll get into all that as we go. First, I wanted to do what I tend to do on these topics. When we are, Joe put the link to the product in the store. Remember, if you're a Love Your Liver member, you get discounts. So you should go to the VIP store so you can get the discount that you earned by being part of the program. So, and just one other thing I'm just going to say about the zinc picolinate for those of you who don't listen to the end. This is called a suspension. This is a suspension, which means it is a powder in liquid. Zinc picolinate does not completely dissolve in water. It doesn't dissolve in water very much at all. So milk of magnesia is a very popular, thing, a laxative in drugstores. That is a suspension also. You shake it up because it's a powder in water, and then you dispense it before the powder settles. Our new liquid zinc picolinate is it's much finer now. It stays suspended much better and much longer than it used to, and it doesn't clog the dropper, which was one of the problems, which is why we had to reformulate also. So anyway, it is a suspension in water. So when you get it the first time and you see that there's powder at the bottom, and the shipping and other stuff will make it compact a little bit, you just turn it over and shake it a bunch, and it will all go into solution. If you use it every day and you shake it every day, it'll very easily go into solution. But if you don't, then you might just have to shake it a little more. It's still just shake it. That's how this works. The liquid zinc supplements that are dissolved out there are like zinc sulfate. Those of you who know what we do here, we don't want zinc sulfate. And I'll talk to you about that maybe a little later if I can remember it. So if somebody wants to remind me when we're all done going through the top 10 causes of death in the US and how zinc deficiency relates to every single one of them. We've done this with like lactoferrin. We've done this with other topics that we've gone over. So we're going to go through that again today. So if you're kind of bored at the studies and that stuff, well, that's what today's going to be. So deal with it. Now, Joe's going to show you. Let me share my screen. Forgot to do that at the start again. Here we go. So Joe's going to link the, let me go view full screen. Joe's going to link this. This is just the links that we're going to go over today. So if you want to follow along with what we're doing or look at the links yourself later, we always do this. And then Joe will post this as a comment after the video's posted, and then I'll pin it. And then you can always find these links should you want to look up the references yourself, because I want people to be able to look up the references should they choose to. So first thing, this is just a quick summary of what zinc does in the body. It's pretty darn important. So I'm just going to read this off. Zinc is an essential trace mineral that plays a vital role in numerous bodily functions. It is required for the proper functioning of the immune system, wound healing, DNA synthesis, and protein production. Zinc is also crucial for cell growth and division, and it supports the senses of taste and smell. Additionally, zinc is involved in the activity of over 300 enzymes that aid in metabolism, digestion, nerve function, and other processes. The body needs zinc for normal immune system function and wound healing. It is necessary for bone growth, the production of hormones such as insulin and testosterone, sperm production, and fetal development. Zinc has antioxidant properties and can help reduce oxidative stress, which is linked to chronic diseases such as high blood pressure and diabetes. Furthermore, zinc plays a role in maintaining healthy skin and may help treat acne by reducing inflammation and inhibiting the growth of P. acnes, that bacteria that they think is related to acne. We just simply get the toxins out and then the acne goes away. So what I want to get at here, folks, is there are certain minerals in our body so zinc is one of them and iron is one of them. We need them to function. Also, if you can get toxic in them, yes, there's iron overload. Yes, there is zinc toxicity. These minerals that are very, very important for us and also can be toxic in certain situations, we have lots of binding proteins for. But I want you to pay attention to, they can't even, like vitamin A, they try to say we need it. And then you go, what exactly needs it? And they go, night blindness and dry eye. And you go, huh? And then with zinc, they have 300 enzymes plus. Okay. The difference between these things is astonishing. So let's get into this now. So why is zinc deficiency such a problem for so many people? And why do people who even think they eat properly probably still have a zinc deficiency? Like I still have my suspicion that Grant Genereux, who we'll talk about multiple times here, Grant Genereux doing his beef and beans and rice diet, was still zinc deficient. And I believe that because when he took a zinc supplement, he felt better. You know, that makes sense. If you feel better when you take an essential mineral, you're not taking a stimulant or something else that's like making you feel that way. You're taking something, it's being put into the system and it runs better. Okay. So this is from chapter 1 in Advances in Agronomy, Zinc and Soil Crop, Animal, Human Health Continuum. Okay. Globally, zinc deficiency in soils and subsequently crops has emerged as one of the most prevalent among micronutrients, resulting in a severe decline in crop yields and nutritional quality and in adversely affecting animal and human health. Worldwide, more than half of the agricultural soils are inherently deficient in zinc, and the health of about 1/3 of the global human population is impacted by zinc deficiency. Zinc is an essential micronutrient for animal and human health, and in the developing world, zinc deficiency has been identified as the 5th cause of disease and death for humans. You know, it's weird that the World Health Organization is out there giving vitamin A supplements and giving vitamin A injections, yet zinc deficiency has been identified as the 5th cause of disease and death for humans in the world. 5th cause. I want you to think about this, folks. So people say, but I eat tons of beef. I'm probably fine. Well, okay. If the soils are deficient, then the plants that grow in that soil are deficient. So if you're eating those plants, the plants are deficient in zinc. And then if you're eating animals like cattle or chickens that are eating the plants that are deficient, then the animals are deficient too. So you're eating deficient animals that ate deficient plants from deficient soil. Farmers have no real obligation to add zinc to the soil. They just want to sell you crops. So the minimum zinc that they could put in there, as long as it's growing stuff and they can take it to market, that's all they really care about. I'm not saying anything bad about farmers. I'm saying they got to make a living too. And they can't just go buy a ton of zinc to put in the soil if it's not going to make them any more money. Okay? So, zinc deficiency is everywhere. I'm going to tell you, the only people who come into me on testing, hair and blood testing, who are okay on zinc are those people eating all muscle meat carnivore. Those are the only people. Now, does that mean I suggest that? No, it's something to learn from, that you have to eat an obscene amount of meat to get your zinc. Okay? Obscene amounts of meat to get your zinc. And then you're still missing out on other things. So that's what we got on that. So this is a pretty important problem. So now we're going to go to, we've been over this before. Oh, let me pull up Joe's Telegram so I can see him. The leading causes of death in the U.S. I think this was from like 2023. Okay. But this is what we hear about all the time. We got heart disease, cancer, accidents as in unintentional injuries. When you look that up in the research, you generally want to look up trauma because that's what would kill somebody, right? Strokes, chronic lower respiratory diseases, which is more like COPD, stuff like that. Alzheimer's or dementia, diabetes, nephritis, nephrotic syndrome, and nephrosis. Really what we're talking about is chronic kidney disease, which, hey, Grant fixed his via a low vitamin A diet. Chronic liver disease and cirrhosis, which we work on all the liver stuff all the time. And then the COOF. Wait, okay, I did these in the wrong order then. So we'll come back to COVID because I don't know why. I guess last night I saw like COOF was like third in my head. At least that's the order I did it in. So I don't know why I did that, but it's a little out of order. So I'll have to fix that. Joe, if you want to fix that on the links page, move COVID to the very bottom of the causes. I don't know how I did that. I don't know why I did that, but I did. So let's head into it. So we're going to go through disease by disease. Now I do already have a 2-part series on heart disease. Heart disease is the number one cause of death in the US. So it's there. It's a problem. But yeah, I have a two-part live stream on heart disease, and I go over the toxicities and deficiencies. Zinc was in there, actually. These are repeat studies from that. So zinc and cardiovascular disease. Zinc is a vital element in maintaining the normal structure and physiology of cells. Boy, that's important. The fact that it has an important role in states of cardiovascular diseases has been studied and described by several research. It appears to have protective effects in coronary artery disease and cardiomyopathy. Intracellular zinc plays a critical role in the redox signaling pathway. We'll talk about that in a sec. Whereby certain triggers such as ischemia, that's lack of blood flow. Ischemia and infarction is lack of oxygen, lack of blood flow, lead to the release of zinc from proteins and cause myocardial damage. Don't listen too much to that. In such states, replenishing with zinc has been shown to improve cardiac function and prevent further damage. As I went over in that other video. So they say, wait, something happened and there's a bunch of zinc that got out. But also in the very same states, giving them more zinc has been shown to fix the problem. Maybe it wasn't the zinc getting out. Maybe it was other stuff causing problems. But again, folks, you can take too much zinc. I've seen people out there sometimes taking 200 milligrams, 300 milligrams. I think I heard of one guy taking 400 milligrams. That is going to end badly at some point. And yes, you can use good minerals for drug-like effects by taking too much of them. It's like the opposite of the duration paradox. You can take something nutritionally, but then you can also take an excess of it and cause problems. I was thinking of an analogy for this morning, and I thought, like salt in your food, right? So most of us, we wouldn't like food with no salt in it. Think of that as like deficiency, right? You don't like it, you don't want to eat it very much. And then there's like, you get the right amount of salt. So this would be like sufficiency. This is getting enough of something. But even with something good like salt, like you're salting a piece of meat, let's say, can you add too much salt? Of course. Like you can always have too much of a good thing. I don't know. I like that analogy. I thought that was a pretty good one. But the redox signaling pathway, when I talk about our detox systems are mostly oxidative. So this is reduction and oxidation. So antioxidants are more on the reduction side. Oxidation is like the oxidizing side when we're talking about detox, okay? So just the whole antioxidant thing, what we need is we need specific nutrients, and we want our body to run We want our body to run this redox signaling pathway with the proper nutrients. We don't want to eat tons of antioxidants that are not essential, like zinc. If zinc is called an antioxidant, it's an essential antioxidant. If selenium is called an antioxidant, it's an essential antioxidant. It's a mineral, the spark plugs of life, as they're called. So we are trying to give the body what it needs and then get out of the way. We're not trying to like take tons of polyphenol antioxidants and make the body have more, redox or reduction, as they call it. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to give the body control. Let's go back in here. Zinc as a biomarker of cardiovascular health. The importance of zinc for cardiovascular health continuously gains recognition. That's happening because people are getting more and more deficient. Okay? As shown earlier, compromised zinc homeostasis and prolonged inflammation. This is compromised zinc homeostasis is zinc deficiency. And prolonged inflammation are common features in various cardiovascular diseases. Similarly, zinc biochemistry alters several vascular processes, that's blood vessels, and zinc status is an important feature of cardiovascular health. Zinc deficiency contributes to the development of cardiovascular diseases, thus zinc manipulations, including zinc supplementation, are beneficial for preventing and treating numerous cardiovascular disorders. So you can go through this paper if you want all the references and all that stuff. I love how they say zinc manipulations, right? Zinc supplementation, getting more zinc. You're manipulating your zinc to be higher to fix a deficiency. It's a good idea. What I'm trying to do here, as I talked about in the other video, is what we like to show that if there's a deficiency state, if there's a deficiency that's associated with a certain disease state, and then you can take a supplement of that and it improves the disease state or prevents the disease state, then we know that they're connected, and you don't have to wait for studies to come out saying that we did a double-blind placebo-controlled crossover whatever study, and they said we had these people who tested deficient and they had this condition and we gave them this supplement and then it got better. Like, some people demand that comes out. Like, some people are out there, I don't know, taking silly things like nicotine for certain conditions when zinc deficiency, like nobody has a nicotine deficiency and zinc deficiency is everywhere. 5th leading cause of death in the world related to zinc deficiency. And they're out there taking nicotine patches. I mean, use your head, folks. So, on to the next one. Let me see. Multifunctional role of zinc in human health, an update, because it's everywhere. Here, let me get this out of the way. Several studies have shown that adequate zinc intake can reduce the risk of cardiovascular diseases such as atherosclerosis and coronary heart disease. Zinc plays a key role in keeping blood vessels healthy by improving circulation and reducing inflammation in the arteries. Well, zinc is helping you detox. You need zinc especially for an enzyme called ADH, alcohol dehydrogenase. So that helps process alcohols into aldehydes, and then we need to do things like flush niacin and selenium and molybdenum to run ALDH, so then they can keep moving. So we have alcohols, they go through ADH, zinc helps run ADH. Then they become aldehydes, and then they go through ALDH, and that's selenium and molybdenum and flush niacin and other things that we use. Lactoferrin helps that. And then it goes through, and then it moves on to the acid phase. And then the body can get rid of those. So let's see. What else? Do we have anything else here? Nope. Nothing there. And finally, zinc deficiency and cellular oxidative stress, prognostic implications in cardiovascular diseases. So they wouldn't have said this unless they had research to back it up. Supplementing zinc can reduce the risk of atherosclerosis and protect against myocardial infarction, that's heart attack, and ischemia/reperfusion injury. And they're summarizing the evidence. So, heart disease, pretty straightforward. And I went over this in those other videos. So now, wait, let me find it. Now we're on into the big C. Zinc deficiency. So this cancer was the second cause of death in the country. Zinc deficiency as a general feature of cancer. A review of the literature. Wow. As a general feature, not a bug. Sorry to laugh. It's all there for us to find. Given the important role of zinc in a wide range of enzymatic reactions and physiological processes, zinc deficiency has been identified in a variety of diseases, notably cancer. In recent years, multiple meta-analyses and reviews, this is where they take a bunch of studies and they look at them all together to see if there's a pattern, looking at zinc levels in individual cancer types have been published, as have a plethora. For those of you who remember the Three Amigos, plethora. As have a plethora of primary studies demonstrating a link between low zinc levels and specific types of cancer. And I don't know, I've done it on Twitter a lot. I don't know how much I've done it on YouTube, but funny thing is tumors are full of copper. And people who have cancer, their blood is higher in copper. And now they're saying that zinc deficiency is a general feature of cancer. What a weird pattern, because zinc is an antagonist of copper. Zinc helps get copper out of your body, if you didn't know that yet. Okay, so let's see. Where was the first thing I wanted to go over? Oh, this is just a quick one. Zinc is the second most abundant trace element after iron. We need zinc, we need iron. We don't want them getting out of control. Zinc doesn't get out of control anywhere near as much as iron does. Okay. After being taken up by the intestines, zinc is distributed to various target organs throughout the body, with concentrations tending to be the highest in bone and muscle, followed by the skin and liver. Well, those are pretty important parts, right? Especially if you're into fitness and lifting and exercise and all that stuff. Or if you just wanted to age well. Those are kind of important things. Whenever people have skin issues, one of the very first things I think of is zinc deficiency. I mean, you guys know that anything I think of the liver, but when I hear skin, I think zinc deficiency and flush niacin. That's why we have that. Oh, that zinc plus niacin salve that is like selling so crazy fast that I already had to put in another order. We're glad you like it. Kelsey warned me that it was going to sell really fast. Okay. Should I make this a little bigger? Let's see. Okay. Unsurprisingly, when scientists use that word, you might want to pay attention. Unsurprisingly, given the crucial nature of zinc in many enzymatic reactions and physiological processes, low zinc levels are associated with a variety of disease states. We're going to go over that today a bunch. Low levels of zinc have been reported in a range of cancers, with increasing evidence suggesting that low zinc levels in serum, plasma, and tissues may be linked to carcinogenesis, the creation of cancer. High copper in cancers? Low zinc all through the body in cancer? Cancer is a toxicity storage condition? Wow, I wonder where the body's trying to store all that copper that it doesn't have enough zinc to help it get rid of. In this review, we will present the recent evidence that low zinc levels in a variety of situations are a hallmark of various cancers. Calling card, if you will. We will also speculate on the usefulness of zinc level as a biomarker and the potential prevention or treatment of cancer by zinc supplementation, as reported in preliminary studies. Now let's go through. I'm just going to hit on these as the cancers that they have connected to zinc. So we have esophageal cancer, breast cancer, liver cancer, lung cancer, gynecological cancer. Ladies, that means your reproductive organs. Reproductive organs, ladies, your reproductive organs tend to accumulate copper like crazy. Birth control pills, IUDs, especially copper IUDs, they increase the copper and vitamin A in your body. It's been shown since 1975. Colon cancer, oral cancer, other cancers. So, I mean, that's Isn't that pretty much most of the big cancers? So now they're going to talk here about why it's hard to measure it. There are diurnal variations in zinc concentration. So that means like the daytime versus the nighttime. There's variations in it. And zinc levels also vary on the basis of sepsis. Well, have you seen my sepsis episode? Showing that like sepsis is just tons of bile leaking into the blood. Endotoxemia from alcohol consumption. So self-poisoning from alcohol consumption, which is acetaldehyde. Acetaldehyde is not going through ALDH. It's backing up and you're getting hangovers and endotoxemia and alcohol poisoning. Steroid use, bad for the liver. Has anybody seen Liver King lately? Whoo. Meal times. Yes. So we talk about, and meal times would include supplements. That's why I have people skip their zinc supplement the day of their blood test and the day before. So we can kind of get it back to where it would be normally, or at least if it was just riding day to day. We don't want, if you take your zinc supplement too close to your zinc blood test, it will, serum or plasma, it will raise it a lot. Okay. Michos et al. Also reported that zinc levels fluctuate on the basis of the menstrual cycle. Well, I can tell you that copper levels absolutely fluctuate on the basis of the menstrual cycle. These conditions need to be considered before zinc level is considered a biomarker for cancer. So in a certain way, they're saying, well, we can't use zinc to tell if people have cancer. Like there's going to be times when we're going through this research and it's like they're trying to show that zinc is bad. And then you'd be like, well, we can't really use zinc for cancer to look for it. It's almost like they don't want to find it. Okay. This is a big paper. This is the whole cancer thing. So on the basis of the correlation between low zinc levels and poor cancer outcomes. So now we have poor cancer outcomes. So not only do people with low zinc get more cancer, but they have worse outcomes. Many authors have speculated that zinc supplementation could be used to reduce the risk of developing cancer. Well, that makes sense. A retrospective analysis published by Hosui et al. In 2018 reported that zinc supplementation appears to maintain liver function and decreases the risk of developing hepatocellular carcinoma, liver cancer. A more recent study by the same group found that oral zinc supplementation decreased the risk of hepatocellular carcinoma development in patients who received direct-acting antivirals to eradicate hepatitis C virus. I have a whole episode on hepatitis too. You might want to watch that. That's another toxicity condition. And I believe, if I recall correctly, it was very much associated with arsenic. And one of the minerals you need to detox arsenic is zinc. What a weird coincidence. Valenzano et al. Also reported that in Barrett's esophagus, administration of zinc gluconate resulted in the upregulation of several tumor suppressive, I'm assuming this means mitochondrial mRNAs, miRNAs. We don't come across that much. Maybe it's mRNAs, and it's not, the I is a typo. Anyway, miRNAs and downregulation of inflammation-inducing proteins. Gosh, do you think it helped with the bile? Anyway, additionally, a 2022 mini review by Iqbal et al. Noted limited evidence for a correlation between a high dietary intake of zinc and a reduced risk of breast cancer, suggesting that dietary supplementation could decrease the chance of developing this malignancy. These preliminary studies suggest there could be potential for using zinc supplementation in the clinical setting to help prevent cancer development. How many MDs do you think are out there giving zinc now, even after all this comes out? You know just as well as I do, it's like a handful. Zinc supplementation has also been suggested by several studies as a potential adjunctive treatment for cancer. Gosh, if we know cancer's people are low in zinc, amazing. We could give them zinc. A series of papers by Costello et al. Directly addresses this possibility. A 2014 review by this group suggests that zinc supplementation could be a useful treatment for hepatocellular carcinoma, while also pointing out the limitations of existing in vitro, as in like Petri dish, the kind we don't like, in vitro models that have made it challenging to generate preclinical evidence for the utility of this therapeutic approach. A 2017 review presents compelling evidence that zinc treatment could help prevent the development and progression of prostate, liver, and pancreatic carcinomas. And a 2020 review again points out the striking correlation between zinc deficiency and multiple cancer types and cites a single case report that demonstrated suppression of androgen-dependent prostate cancer progression in a patient treated with the zinc ionophore cleoquinol. Folks, forget about the zinc ionophore nonsense. They're just trying to sell you pharmaceuticals. Just take zinc, either zinc niacinate or zinc picolinate. Additionally, in a review published in 2020, Wang et al. Highlighted the prevalence of zinc dyshomeostasis, as in zinc deficiency. They just don't want to say it. In prostate cancer, breast cancer, and pancreatic cancer, and provided an overview of the current evidence suggesting that zinc or zinc transporters, ionophores, like, stop. Just take the right amount of zinc. Don't take drugs to try to force zinc to go where they think it should go. Could therefore be useful agents for cancer therapy. Furthermore, a 2021 systematic review by Hopp et al. That analyzed data from 19 publications found that zinc therapy helped reduce oral toxicities incurred during irradiation in patients mainly diagnosed with head and neck cancer. Wow, so it helps with that too. It should be noted, however, that high doses of zinc supplementation have been reported to be a risk factor for prostate cancer. Okay, one study out of what, Oh, but I also say, don't overdose on zinc. Gosh, imagine this crazy thing of you need it. You need the right amount. Don't be stupid and take Twitter health guru expert doses from guys who are like 21 sitting in their mother's basement thinking they're the end all be all of nutrition gurus. Like, stop listening to those people who are mega dosing. We can fix these things with, remember, these things used to be not problems from decent food. Food is not megadosing supplements. You can megadose supplements and get a drug effect, even with the stuff that we use. Don't do that. So, 2021 review by Singh et al. Mentions several studies that showed no beneficial effect of zinc supplementation on zinc levels in patients with prostate cancer. The authors proposed combined treatment with zinc and naturally occurring dietary phytochemicals that could lead to enhanced zinc bioaccumulation in the prostate. Whatever. 2022 review by Nishikawa describes the recent approval of zinc acetate hydrate, acetic acid as in like vinegar. Anyway, for treating patients with hypozincemia, that's low blood zinc, associated with chronic liver disease in Japan, and presents evidence from several studies showing a positive effect of zinc supplementation in patients with various forms of liver disease, putting them at risk for developing liver cancer. Together, these studies have highlighted promising preliminary indications that zinc supplementation could be a useful addition to cancer treatment regimens and identified specific areas for future investigation. Yeah, that was long, but I covered cancer. Like, there's a lot on zinc deficiency and zinc supplementation in cancer. So that was that cancer? Yep, that was it. Okay. So now we're into the trauma and accidents. Okay, death by unintentional accidents, or whatever the CDC decided to call it. So what I did was I looked up trauma. Okay, that's the closest I can get. So we have improving treatments and outcomes, an emerging role for zinc in traumatic brain injury. Let me go find it. Zinc deficiency and traumatic brain injury. As shown in a clinical study, after head injury, patients are at risk for the development of zinc deficiency. You guys who have worked with me or my health facilitators, when we sometimes we show you your labs and we say, this is a zinc loss. Okay, you're losing zinc. This could be shown in the urine. This could be shown, we don't test urine, but it could be shown in the urine. It could be shown in the stool. It could be shown in the hair. It could even be shown in the blood. Okay, it doesn't always mean that just because something's high, you're losing it. We have to look at the whole picture. Okay, so pay attention here. Traumatic brain injury patients have elevated urinary zinc losses that persist for weeks following injury and result in reduced serum zinc levels. So the injury itself causes them to lose more zinc. It also appears that urinary zinc losses are proportional to traumatic brain injury severity. In fact, the study found that the most severely injured patients had mean urinary zinc levels that were 14 times higher than normal values. So they are losing zinc at an amazing rate. Given that traumatic brain injury patients are at risk for the development of zinc deficiency, a rat model of combined moderate zinc deficiency and brain injury was used to examine the outcomes of zinc deficiency after traumatic brain injury. Zinc deficiency increased cell death at the site of cortical injury. Remember how they were saying like zinc was going to cause problems in the nerves? But then they make these rats zinc deficient and they have more cell death. I'm telling you, they're trying to, certain researchers are trying to badmouth zinc in a certain way, as measured by Tunel labeling compared to zinc adequate controls. Along with the development of zinc deficiency, there was evidence of both apoptotic and necrotic cell death for 4 weeks following the injury. Increased cell death has also been reported with severe zinc deficiency in an animal model of traumatic brain injury. These data led to the hypothesis, or they're thinking this is what's going to happen, that the development of zinc deficiency and the subsequent increase in cell death results in behavioral deficits after traumatic brain injury. To test this hypothesis, rats were fed a diet with marginal levels of zinc for 4 weeks and then received a moderately severe bilateral traumatic brain injury induced by controlled cortical impact to the frontal cortex. They're just smashing these mice in the head. This model of injury induces edema that is evident in the first hours after injury using MRI. By hour 48 post-injury, the edema begins to dissipate and continued secondary cell death leads to the development of a necrotic core, that's dying tissue in the middle of it, that persists throughout the life of the animal. The resulting neuronal damage in this preclinical model of TBI, traumatic brain injury, results in behaviors consistent with depression, anxiety, and impaired spatial learning and memory. Lack of zinc allows for copper toxicity and vitamin A toxicity, and we associate these with depression and anxiety. So I know we're talking about traumatic brain injury here, but we see the same patterns with zinc deficiency and copper toxicity. Okay. Furthermore, consistent with injury-induced stress, this model of TBI also resulted in significantly increased adrenal weights. Their adrenals got bigger. Interestingly, the use of a moderate model of zinc deficiency did not worsen these outcomes. However, it is not known that if a more severe model of zinc deficiency or injury would impair behavioral outcomes. This is a clinically relevant question given the reports that urinary excretion can be very high in severe traumatic brain injury. Let's see, was there anything else? Oh, and then just one of the conclusions, the work reported in this review suggests a link exists between zinc supplementation and improvement in outcomes following traumatic brain injury. Better zinc status, less damage. You know, it's like, you know, doctors in hospitals, they know that like when they see somebody come in who they can kind of tell is healthy, they tend to recover better. They tend to have less problems, okay? This is what I want. Like somebody say, well, why do you do all this healthy stuff? You could get run over by a bus tomorrow. Well, I might get run over by a bus. And if anybody's, I want to be the guy who, if I can survive it, I can. I'm going to. And I'm going to recover quickly. I don't want to be like so many Americans who it's system after system falling apart. That's what most people do. There's just, oh, it's my kidneys. Oh, it's my, prostate. Oh, it's this. It's like, it's just boom, 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 boom. And they just go downhill until finally the last system gives out after people have put in how many hundreds of thousands of dollars to try to make the rest of their life like livable so they can sit in a chair and watch TV and have somebody help them go to the bathroom. I don't want that. So am I here trying to live forever? No, I just want to have a good quality of life. That is my ultimate goal. And that's my goal for you guys too. I don't obsess over longevity. You guys see me. I don't post longevity studies. Those guys are obsessed and they're mostly wrong in their interpretation of the research. Okay, impact of zinc supplementation on the clinical outcomes of patients with severe head trauma, a double-blind randomized clinical trial. To determine the effects of zinc supplementation on clinical outcomes of patients with severe head trauma, this double-blind clinical trial randomly allocated 100 patients with severe head trauma, aged between 18 to 65 years, to receive placebo or 120 milligrams zinc via a nasogastric tube. So they're putting it up their nose to their stomach for 15 days. Okay. They measured sequential organ failure assessment, SOFA, erythrocyte sedimentation rate, that's a marker of inflammation, C-reactive protein, another marker of inflammation, and white blood cell count, obviously, how many white blood cells you have. They also looked at the Glasgow outcome score, the mortality rate, as in how many people died, and the length of stay, LOS. What was the SOFA? SOFA was sequential organ failure assessment, Glasgow, what was it? Outcome score, and inflammation factors were significantly better in the zinc supplemented group by day 16. The LOS, what was that? The length of stay was shorter. They stayed in the hospital less time, almost 2 weeks shorter, 52 versus 65 days. And the mortality rate on day 28 was borderline lower. So they had 17% versus 22%, 5% less. I'd call that something. In zinc versus placebo groups. Zinc supplementation, the study had favorable effects on GOS, SOFA score, and inflammatory markers in patients with severe head injury. Less time in the hospital, all sorts of better scores. Less sequential organ failure assessment. The rate of their sequential organ failure was less. Okay, moving on. Oh, did I go over... There we go. Here's the paper. Nutrition and traumatic brain injury, improving acute and subacute health outcomes in military personnel. Okay. Dietary requirements for zinc are determined not only by the roles of zinc in the brain, but also by the necessity of adequate zinc for immune function, tissue repair and replacement, nutrient digestion, and energy metabolism in all organ systems. This is the important thing. There is, however, no single widely accepted or routinely available biomarker for zinc status. So there's no one thing that everybody does, and even if they did all accept it, it's not everywhere to get. Marginal zinc deficiency is particularly difficult to identify and is thus likely to go unrecognized. So people who aren't that zinc deficient, it's difficult to identify them. Now, I'm going to say something here. The LabCorp reference range, notice I didn't say normal range. The LabCorp reference range, that's the lab we use for our US clients, their range for zinc is 44 to 115. I think it's micrograms per deciliter. 44 to 115. Do you see how obscenely large that range is? That's huge. I've only seen, of all the people I work with, I've seen one person below a 44. You want to know who that person was? I've been over this before. This was my mother after she did 10 EDTA chelation treatments. We went over EDTA last week in the artist PSYOP episode. So the lowest zinc I've ever seen was in my mother after she did 10 EDTA IV treatments. Crazy, right? One person. Darius, you're going to have to rephrase that question, I think. I don't know if that's just a joke. Okay, so let's go here. The Committee on Mineral Requirements for Cognitive and Physical Performance of Military Personnel reported that high-intensity exercise can increase urinary zinc excretion by 20 to 40%. So those of you out there in the summer right now sweating a lot and doing high-intensity exercise or you may want to note your zinc is potentially more of an issue. This, combined with severe environmental conditions that promote sweating, means that many active duty military personnel have high zinc losses. These losses must be replaced by dietary intake or supplements, right? Let me see if I even want to go over this. I think we kind of already covered enough of the traumatic brain injury stuff. Another one, effective zinc supplementation on patients with trauma, systematic review and meta-analysis. Zinc supplementation with or without other antioxidants and trace elements in patients with trauma was associated with a lower incidence of pneumonia. That kills a lot of people in the hospital, right? So they had less pneumonia. Next one, zinc is an integral component of the metabolic response to trauma. After an injury, there is a major redistribution of zinc. This injury resulted in a rapid uptake of this marked zinc into the spleen, lung, wound, into the wound. More zinc went to the wound, kidney, and particularly liver, while the uptake of 65 zinc was decreased in the brain, some muscle groups, and particularly in bone. Okay, so your body will move zinc around. It is apparent that the liver has a central role in the early post-injury changes in zinc metabolism, and that bone as well as muscle provides an available source of zinc in these circumstances. So your bone and your muscles will give up zinc for other organs. Okay. Moving on, I think, there we go. I'm going to try to hit these quickly. We're on the COOF now. For those of you who don't know, I am not a fan of virus theory. I do not subscribe to it at all. In my opinion, virus diseases, I put quotes, virus diseases are expressions of toxicity states. I've been over all this many times. The COOF is the flu, and the flu is a detox dump of a lot of toxic bile into your system. You're self-poisoning yourself. That's why you get all these symptoms. It's not some little protein that's like semi-alive going around and hijacking your cells. No, it's not that. Okay? So, I'm going to tell you twice daily, or we're just going to go over this. Zinc helped the COOF. Okay? Lots of papers on it. Do we want to use zinc sulfate? No, zinc sulfate's about the worst you could use. Here's why. They'll talk about zinc sulfate a lot, and that was a big one during the COOF. Okay, zinc helps. Okay, this is important that I say it right. Zinc is necessary to run ADH, alcohol dehydrogenase. It's necessary to run it. Kind of like vitamin K is necessary for coagulation. Vitamin K doesn't make you coagulate. It's necessary for proper coagulation. Do you understand the difference? It's like you need gas to drive your car, but putting gas in your car doesn't make your car automatically drive. You need zinc for ADH to run. You do not have to. So do you understand what I'm saying? You need it for it to run. It doesn't make it run faster. But anyway, they're giving zinc sulfate. Zinc is necessary for ADH to run, so the alcohols go through ADH, and then they become aldehydes. And as we've been over many, many times on these live streams, sulfate slows down ALDH. So they're able to create more aldehydes by the zinc is helping ADH to run. You have alcohols go through here to become an aldehyde, and then you slow it down with the sulfate. Don't do that. Zinc sulfate is trash. The only nice thing about it is it is soluble in water. That's about it. That zinc taste test, what a waste of your time and money. Okay, so anyway, twice daily oral zinc showed that oral zinc can decrease 30-day death, intensive care unit admission rate, and can shorten symptom duration. Okay. Moving on. The implications of zinc therapy in combating the COOF global epidemic. They just talk in here about how important it is. Let's go over this part though. So you need zinc to help detox mercury and lead and arsenic and all these toxic metals, and to detox vitamin A and copper and just a bunch of things. So if we're talking about virus diseases as being toxicity states, earlier studies documented that zinc deficiency predisposes patients to a viral infection such as herpes simplex, common cold, hepatitis C, severe acute respiratory syndrome, coronavirus, the human immunodeficiency virus, HIV, because of reducing antiviral immunity. Gosh, what if you just need zinc to properly run detox? And your immune system, which is your cleanup crew, to clean up all the toxicity. Gosh, that'd be weird if all these viral diseases were connected to the same toxicity patterns. They just show up a little different. Okay, moving on. Zinc supplementation and COVID-19 mortality, a meta-analysis. This meta-analysis has suggested that zinc supplementation... Oh, sorry, I didn't switch. This meta-analysis has suggested that zinc supplementation is associated with a lower mortality rate, that's risk of death, in COVID-19 patients. Zinc supplementation could be considered as a simple way and cost-benefit approach for reduction of death in COVID-19 patients. Okay. Another one, zinc supplementation associated with a decrease in mortality in COVID-19 patients, a meta-analysis. And again, we're talking about the flu. How sick are people getting that this is one of the top 10 causes of death? How toxic and deficient are people getting? It was found that COVID-19 infected individuals treated with zinc supplements had a reduced risk of mortality compared with individuals not treated with a zinc supplement. For symptomology, it was found that COVID-19 infected individuals treated with zinc had no difference in symptomology than individuals not treated with a zinc supplement. Well, if we wanted to say that a symptom was death, I'd say they had a reduced symptomology. Or is that a sign? Is death a sign or a symptom? I guess death is a sign. Definitely a sign. So they had the same amount of runny noses, but those without the zinc keeled over more. It just seems kind of like silly that that's not a big deal. Okay, so hold on one second. Have to make sure. Okay. Had to make sure my son was going to get picked up at school. Oh, this is a fun one for those copper lovers, for you copper crazy people. Serum zinc, copper, and other biometals are associated with COVID-19 severity markers. For those of you who are regulars here, what do you think we're going to find with zinc? And what do you think we're going to find with copper? I bet you already know what we're going to find. One of those is good and one of them is bad. Increasing COVID-19 severity was also associated with a significant gradual decrease in serum calcium, iron, selenium, zinc levels as compared to controls, whereas serum copper and especially copper to zinc ratio were elevated. We like selenium and zinc around here, right? Selenium and zinc were low, copper was high, and copper to zinc was high. There's nothing good about that. No significant group differences in serum magnesium and manganese levels were observed. So serum calcium, iron, selenium, zinc correlated positively with the what is that? The partial pressure or the oxygen pressure. I'm forgetting the exact name of it. You guys know what I mean. The thing you can put it on your finger to read your oxygen. Saturation. Oxygen saturation, that's what it is. So oxygen saturation as zinc and selenium, and these were higher, oxygen saturation was higher. And they were inversely associated with fever, lung damage, and C-reactive protein. So the higher those were, the less fever, less lung damage, less C-reactive protein. Opposite correlations were observed for copper and copper to zinc ratio. Wait, so that means that higher copper and higher copper to zinc ratio was associated with a lower oxygen saturation, and higher copper and higher copper to zinc ratio were associated with more fever. Sorry, they were, the opposite. So they were inversely, So there was more fever, more lung damage, and more C-reactive protein. So in regression models, serum selenium levels, we like selenium around here, were inversely associated with lung damage. So more selenium, less lung damage. That's what that means. Independently of other markers of disease severity, anthropometric, biochemical, and hemostatic parameters. Copper to zinc ratio was also considered as a significant predictor of lower oxygen saturation in adjusted regression models. Higher copper to zinc ratio was a significant predictor of lower oxygen saturation. You folks out there pushing copper are just hurting people. You're hurting yourselves. I'm sorry. There's a guy out there who does hair analysis who is pushing lots of copper and manganese and B6 to try to get aluminum out of people. Remember how I tell you, you can trade one disease for another. You could be getting rid of aluminum toxicity while creating copper toxicity and manganese toxicity and B6 toxicity. You can trade one disease for another. This has always been true. I'm not going to spend much time on this one. Zinc supplementation reduces the incidence of acute lower respiratory infections in infants and preschool children, a double-blind controlled trial. Was this the one that I wanted? No. I thought I brought it over. Anyway, there's 2 papers on this. So some of you who are into, certain theories, especially during the COOF days, there's that whole ventilator thing. People have very strong opinions about what those were actually intended to do. I don't have the other paper right here right now, and I'm not going to get it, but I have 2 papers here. This one, zinc deficiency primes the lung for ventilator-induced injury. Oh, sorry, I didn't share this one. Sorry, Joe, I got it. Zinc deficiency primes the lung for ventilator-induced injury, and I have another paper on that. I hope it's in the links. If not, I'll find it. But yeah, 2 papers showing that zinc deficiency will cause greater injury from ventilators. That's weird. Weird coincidence, right? Okay, so moving on. Okay, now we're on to stroke. Serum zinc levels, and so you guys know what stroke is. Stroke is basically an infarction or a blood clot in the brain versus the heart. So the heart disease that we went over first, obviously that's like heart attacks and stuff like that. That's a clot in the heart. And then we have a clot in the brain. That's a stroke. Serum zinc levels and incidence of ischemic stroke. The reasons for geographic and racial differences in stroke study. Well, we definitely need that research. Serum zinc concentration was inversely associated with incidence of ischemic stroke. So higher zinc, less stroke, especially among women, indicating that low zinc levels may be a risk factor for ischemic stroke. I may not even read this one. Zinc improves neurological recovery by promoting angiogenesis. This is new blood vessel formation via the astrocyte-mediated HIF-1 alpha VEGF signaling pathway in experimental stroke. So they gave these mice an experimental stroke. And zinc increased all these proteins and promoted new blood vessels. In vitro, so like Petri dish-ish, and in the animal studies confirmed that zinc promoted angiogenesis via this pathway. Okay. Baseline plasma zinc and risk of first stroke in hypertensive patients. In this sample of hypertensive patients, that's high blood pressure, we found a significant inverse association between plasma zinc and first hemorrhagic stroke. Inverse again means higher zinc, less stroke. So you have a loved one who had a stroke, get them on some zinc. Normalization of zinc intake enhances neurological retrieval. Neurological retrieval, that means trying to get your old friend or loved one back as much as possible, of patients suffering from ischemic strokes. Normalization of zinc intake, that means they were deficient and they needed more. Okay. The objective of this study was to investigate whether zinc supplementation could contribute to neurological retrieval of patients suffering from strokes on low zinc intake. They used the NIH stroke scale. At day 30, the improvement in the NIH SS was higher in the zinc group than in the placebo. NIH SS and zinc intake were negatively correlated. So the higher... Wait. That's weird. I'm reading something wrong here. The zinc had a better improvement. Maybe they're saying that the really high intake was not going along. The normalization of zinc intake in stroke patients with low mineral intake may enhance neurological recovery. Giving people who need zinc zinc helps fix them better. Simple as that. Okay. Now we're on to what they call chronic lower respiratory disease in that CDC document. A lot of times they're talking about just COPD. That's the simplest way to look it up. But funny, the first study I wanted to go over, serum copper to zinc ratio and risk of COPD, a cohort study. For those of you who want anti-aging, serum copper, zinc, and copper to zinc ratio have emerged as aging-related biomarkers. What do you think is bad here? High copper is bad, low zinc is bad, and high copper to zinc ratio would be bad. Serum copper to zinc ratio and copper concentrations were linearly associated with COPD risk. That means that, okay, so as serum copper to zinc ratio goes up and copper goes up, so does COPD risk. Linearly. They follow the same line. A unit increase in copper to zinc ratio was associated with an increased COPD risk in multivariable analysis. Conclusions: increased serum copper to zinc ratio and copper concentrations were linearly associated with an increased COPD risk in men. You people taking extra copper are just, you're in for a bad time. So, zinc deficiency as a co-determinant for airway epithelial barrier dysfunction. So, leaky airways. Zinc deficiency causing leaky airways in an ex vivo model of COPD. So, they cut some tissue out of something and ran tests on it. Okay. They were using it with cigarette smoke extract. So anyway, I'm trying to save some time here so you guys don't get too bored. Oh, this was the other paper. I grabbed the wrong one and moved it. The zinc deficient diet aggravates ventilation-induced lung injury in rats. Joe, we need to move this link to where it's supposed to be in the COOF section. Yeah. And finally, we have zinc and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, so COPD. The background, to evaluate the zinc organic concentration in the chronic obstructive pulmonary disease in relation to a control group. Also to analyze if the serum zinc levels are related with zinc concentration in erythrocyte, that's red blood cells, nails, fingernails, and hair. Results: blood intraerythrocyte, so that's red blood cell zinc, and nail zinc were similar in healthy subjects and patients. However, the median concentration of zinc in hair was significantly low in patients versus control group. So they're saying the blood and the RBC and the nail was all similar whether you were sick or well. But the zinc in the hair was lower in the sick people. Why do you think we do both blood and hair for zinc and copper? No one else. We've been through several research papers where they say there's no one good way of measuring zinc. Okay, so if there's no one good way of measuring it, what if we measure it two ways? Right? Big brain strats here. Okay, why do we look at copper too? Because copper can show up too high in one or the other. You could have low copper on the hair and high copper in the blood, or you could have the opposite. You could have high copper or low copper in the blood and high copper in the hair. Either way, you know what I mean? You could have either one of them. You could only be high in one of them. It happens quite often. And the people who do that, like if you only did one, the people who only do hair tests, man, especially when they're looking at zinc and copper and iron, they are lost. If you only look at hair tests and you do not look at blood test, ferritin and copper and zinc, you miss things. You will absolutely just blow by things. Really important. On that note, I'm considering running another seminar soon. So those of you who are interested, just letting you know that is a possibility soon. So where are we at? We're at that. Okay. Oh, now we get a fun one. Okay, so now we're into Alzheimer's and dementia. Okay. So in Alzheimer's, there's a big thing that they like to talk about called amyloid beta peptide. Now, Kelsey one day, wicked smart girl that she is, says to me, she says, all that amyloid beta is there to bind up copper. And I went, really? She goes, yeah. And I start looking it up and I go, oh, it is. So let's just pay attention to this paper real quick. Copper binding. So remember, okay, so think about this. Your body can use body fat to store certain toxic things, including toxic metals, if you didn't know. So your body can make body fat to store certain toxic things. Your body can make tumors and lipomas and bumps and lumps and bumps to store all sorts of toxins. Okay, that's what all these growths are, to store toxins. You can put different names on them, but that's what they're there for. Okay, now in your skull, right, there's not a lot of room to expand, right, inside of it. Your brain can't just like have growths, or else you get big problems. So what could your body do? We've shown copper accumulation in all sorts of neurodegenerative diseases. Alzheimer's is one of them. What could your body do to bind up protein in the brain without getting bigger? Well, it could just make this like amyloid beta that's just this nasty network, like spider web stuff that's super tight, that's made to hold copper. It's trying to make some sort of storage container for it, and it's going to mess with your brain because you're losing brain real estate. Okay, so pay attention here. Copper binding to the amyloid beta peptide associated with Alzheimer's disease. There is now direct evidence that copper is bound to amyloid beta peptide in senile plaque of Alzheimer's disease. Copper is also linked with the neurotoxicity of amyloid beta and free radical damage, and copper chelators represent a possible therapy for Alzheimer's disease. It doesn't get much clearer than that, folks, and they're basing this obviously on multiple papers that they have. Evidence for the link between Alzheimer's disease and copper is growing, and our studies have made a significant contribution to understanding the mode of copper binding to amyloid beta in solution. So they still won't talk about like the body making amyloid beta to bind to copper in a way to protect you from it. They see that it's all together and they go, well, there's a problem here, but they just don't understand that the body gets toxic. That's really, they don't tend to get that. So now, next one. So if we know that if we know that zinc is a direct antagonist to copper, they don't like each other. When you have a lot of one, you have less of the other, for better or worse. Okay. Zinc and Alzheimer's disease, is there a direct link? Zinc is an essential trace element in human biology, but is neurotoxic at high concentrations. What do I tell you not to take too much of? Stop taking stupid mega doses of things. Several studies show that zinc promotes aggregations of beta amyloid protein, the main component of the senile plaques typically found in Alzheimer's disease brains. So if zinc was going to help protect you from copper, does it make sense that zinc would promote your body making this protein to store up the copper in? Do you understand? Zinc helps you make proteins. So zinc can promote the aggregation of the beta amyloid protein because it's trying to protect the rest of your brain from all this copper. At face, so this is where they start going, well, there's too much zinc and then there's none of zinc. At face value, it seems that a paradox exists between reports of a decrease in zinc in the Alzheimer's brain and the putative link to aberrant high zinc levels promoting plaque formation. So they can't understand why they're saying zinc helps promote plaque formation, but Alzheimer's brains don't have enough zinc. It's trying to find a reason to badmouth zinc. And they find conflicting information. So now let's go into this last paper for Alzheimer's, at least. This has quite a title, right? I posted this on Twitter yesterday. Alzheimer's disease causation by copper toxicity and treatment with zinc. Here it is. Sorry, Joe. Alzheimer's disease causation by copper toxicity and treatment with zinc. Evidence will be presented that the Alzheimer's disease epidemic is new, the disease being very rare in the 1900s. The incidence is increasing rapidly, but only in developed countries. We postulate that the new emerging environmental factor partially causal of the Alzheimer's disease epidemic is ingestion of inorganic copper from drinking water. Copper water pipes, people drinking out of copper water bottles and copper cups. That's what they're talking about. People wearing copper bracelets and putting on copper grounding shoes and wearing copper clothing. Anything that is metallic copper against your skin is really what they're talking about here. And taking supplement pills, like people taking ungodly amounts of copper sulfate in the copper revolution, or taking, basically, I talked about this in the artist episode, copper nicotinate. They're trying to take flush niacin bound to copper that dissociates in your stomach. So you're still taking the copper 2 that they say is bad. It still turns into that. Okay. But look at this last part. Along with a high-fat diet. Copper in drinking water, supplements, and a high-fat diet. And then people eating superfoods. Okay. Inorganic copper cannot be partially directly absorbed. They're talking about metallic copper here, like copper metal, like copper water pipes, stuff like that. Can be partially directly absorbed and elevate the serum-free copper pool. The Squiddy group has shown that serum-free copper is elevated in Alzheimer's disease. Serum-free copper correlates with cognition. Serum-free copper predicts cognition loss. Thus, our inorganic copper hypothesis fits well with the Squiddy group data. We have also shown that the Alzheimer's disease patients are zinc deficient compared to age-matched controls. Because zinc is a neuronal, as in brain nervous system protective factor, we postulate that zinc deficiency may also be partially causative of Alzheimer's disease. Where was it? Because zinc, there we were. We carried out a small 6-month double-blind study of the new zinc formulation and found that in patients aged 70 and over, it protected against cognition loss. Zinc therapy also significantly reduced serum-free copper in Alzheimer's disease patients, so efficacy may come from restoring normal zinc levels, or from lowering serum-free copper, or from both. Now, I want to say one thing about there, because there are some crazy-ass people out on the internet saying that high blood copper, high serum copper, means you are detoxing copper. They are wrong, okay? It has been shown in the research that as people age, their serum copper goes up. I have shown tons of research with heart disease and diabetes and all these other things that they have higher serum copper in the disease states. We bring people's serum copper down. They're saying that you want to raise the serum copper. Like that means you're detoxing it better. That means nothing. That means you have more copper floating around in your blood, causing your brain problems and causing your heart problems and ready to be stored. Okay. We help people fix their copper toxicity problems, and their serum copper comes down over time because that makes sense. Okay, we might see it increase at the start because they have a lot to come out of their liver, but then it goes down. We regularly relieve copper toxicity symptoms and their serum copper comes down, which is exactly what they're saying in this paper. Zinc therapy reduced serum-free copper, and it protected against cognition loss, so they didn't get worse like the other people did. Okay? Do not believe jokers on the internet who haven't even fixed their high copper yet. Really, please do yourself a favor. Okay. Diabetes. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. I have a whole episode on diabetes. Okay. Is serum zinc level associated with pre-diabetes and diabetes? Or if you've heard of metabolic syndrome or syndrome X. It's pretty simple. Participants with pre-diabetes have lower zinc levels than controls, and zinc is significantly associated with beta cell function and insulin resistance. You got blood sugar problems, you need zinc. Okay, next one. Is dietary zinc protective from type 2 diabetes? Results from the Australian longitudinal study on women's health. So we had Bangladesh, and now we got Australia. Higher total dietary zinc intake and high zinc to iron ratio are associated with lower risk of type 2 diabetes in women. Okay, let's keep going. Zinc supplementation improves glycemic control, as in blood sugar control, for diabetes prevention and management. Conclusions. Our analysis revealed that several key glycemic indicators are significantly reduced by zinc supplementation, particularly the fasting glucose in subjects with diabetes and in subjects who received an inorganic zinc supplement. Together, these findings support the notion that zinc supplementation may have clinical potential as an adjunct therapy for preventing or managing diabetes. And one more on supplementation. Effects of zinc supplementation on diabetes mellitus, a systematic review and meta-analysis. Let me go find that one. So remember, this is a bunch of studies that they looked at. This first comprehensive systematic review and meta-analysis on the effects of zinc supplementation in patients with diabetes demonstrates that zinc supplementation has beneficial effects on glycemic control, blood sugar control, and promotes healthy lipid parameters, as in cholesterol and triglycerides, stuff like that. Okay. Oh, we got two more. Oh my gosh. We're still not. No, that was just, okay. No, we just got diabetes. Then we got, let's see, we got kidney disease. So remember, Grant Genereux fixed his chronic kidney disease. His nephrologist had never seen a complete physical and laboratory recovery of chronic kidney disease ever in their careers. They had never seen anybody come back from it. Vitamin A is a huge part. Well, so while we're talking about zinc, what does zinc do for vitamin A? It helps make retinol binding protein, which helps protect you from vitamin A. It binds to vitamin A and protects you. Zinc helps make proteins. Okay. Zinc helps detox vitamin A through running ADH. Retinol is an alcohol. It has to go through alcohol dehydrogenase. Okay. Then we have copper. Zinc is a direct antagonist from copper. You're going to have either zinc or copper in your liver. If you're not getting enough zinc and you're getting exposed to copper, your body will be putting copper in those spaces where zinc could go. That's the way you want to think of it. You don't want to overdose on zinc, but you want to make sure there's plenty of zinc to fill those holes where the copper could go. You don't want, it'd be just like if you had an apartment complex with a bunch of open apartments, you would like to fill the apartments with good people, not, I don't know, invaders. We could say that, can't we? So the apartments are going to be filled. You would like to fill it with something that is good for you and not something that is bad for you. Okay. Zinc deficiency, a potential hidden driver of the detrimental cycle of chronic kidney disease and hypertension. This is just fancy talk. Anyway, let's go through here. This review article will, 1, highlight mechanisms of zinc procurement and trafficking. This just sounds like drugs. 2, provide evidence that urinary zinc wasting can fuel zinc deficiency in chronic kidney disease. So they're peeing out all their zinc, which makes their problem worse. Discuss how zinc deficiency can accelerate the progression of hypertension and kidney damage in chronic kidney disease. So they're losing their zinc too fast, which fuels their deficiency. The deficiency accelerates the progression. And we'll consider zinc supplementation as an exit strategy with the potential to rectify the course of hypertension and chronic kidney disease progression. Okay. Here, this is just a quick study. I don't want to read too much on this one. Zinc deficiency aggravates tubulointerstitial nephropathy caused by ureteral obstruction. Kidney damage was worse with zinc deficiency. That's all I'm going to hit on that one. Serum zinc levels in chronic kidney disease patients, hemodialysis patients, and healthy controls. Systematic review and meta-analysis. Okay, CKD is chronic kidney disease. Hemodialysis is HD. Was there another one? Healthy controls is HC. Pre-dialysis serum zinc levels were significantly lower than those post-hemodialysis. So they're affecting zinc levels. In the current study, the serum zinc levels were lower in chronic kidney disease and hemodialysis patients compared to healthy controls, and appears to be more common than reported in daily clinical practice because nobody thinks about nutritional deficiencies. it may be beneficial to assess serum zinc levels in chronic kidney disease and hemodialysis patients. Shocking. Now, for those who think anemia is only iron related or only B12 related, hemoglobin response to zinc supplementation in chronic kidney disease in patients with zinc deficiency and anemia. Chronic anemia has an estimated prevalence of 5.6% within the US, whereas 25.3% of patients with chronic kidney disease, 3 to 5, I don't know what that means. That doesn't make sense. I'm just going to not read that. Whereas 25.3% of patients with chronic kidney disease have anemia of chronic kidney disease, according to NHANES. Anemia in chronic kidney disease has long been attributed to a decrease in EPO, that's erythropoietin production, due to their kidney disease. While iron deficiency is treated in anemia of chronic kidney disease, other micronutrients are less commonly tested or supplemented. Zinc may be an additional micronutrient of interest in anemia of chronic kidney disease, as zinc has numerous proposed mechanisms in erythropoiesis, that's making red blood cells. Let me see, did I have another thing marked in here? The conclusions. Zinc supplementation improved patients' anemia with resolution of anemia in 35% of patients, with incremental improvement in hemoglobin over a 1-year time frame. There was a statistically significant improvement from baseline hemoglobin at the 6 and 12-month time markers. Who talks about zinc with anemia? Your anemia is rooted in your liver, if you didn't know. I mean, first of all, if you're a woman and you're having heavy cycles, well, that's rooted in your liver. Yes, you can be bleeding too much, and yes, you need some iron, and yes, you need stuff for that, because anybody can bleed too much and just lose too much iron, of course. But if you have chronically low iron or chronic anemia and it's not from bleeding, the problem is in your liver. Chronically low ferritin, we help fix it. Your liver is, in Chinese medicine, your liver is like I forget what it is in Chinese medicine. Your liver is the storage house of your blood, and your liver basically runs your blood, if you didn't know. Okay, and finally, the last one. Zinc and the liver. Liver disease and cirrhosis was the final one on that list. The role of zinc in liver cirrhosis. I'm not going to read all this. You guys have seen all that. Zinc deficiency can result in a spectrum of clinical manifestations such as poor appetite, loss of body hair, altered taste and smell, testicular atrophy, cerebral as in brain and immune dysfunction, and diminished drug elimination capacity. Detox. Lack of zinc inhibits detox. These are common symptoms in patients with chronic liver diseases, especially liver cirrhosis. Is there anything else? In the present review, we summarize the emerging evidence on the pivotal role of zinc in the pathogenesis, disease creation of liver cirrhosis. Sounds kind of important. I'm not going to go through all that research. Next one, zinc supplementation. So they gave them zinc in patients with cirrhosis and hepatic encephalopathy, a systematic review and meta-analysis. So this is, the brain is suffering because the liver is not detoxing well. Basically, that's what you can think of. The brain is like getting cooked with toxicity because the liver is not doing well. Conclusion, a combination of zinc supplementation and lactulose over 3 to 6 months may improve the number connection test in cirrhotic patients, whatever the number connection test is, with low-grade hepatoencephalopathy compared to lactulose only. So the zinc made it work better. Let me see what I got on this one. Zinc supplementation and its benefits in the management of chronic liver disease, an in-depth literature review. Let's hit on the important parts. Oh, I love this. Micronutrient deficiencies in patients with chronic liver disease include zinc, vitamin A, vitamin D, and selenium. Okay. We help fix the zinc and selenium, and we basically, I don't want to say we ignore vitamin D, but we don't do anything about vitamin D, and we fix that problem. And vitamin A gets low because it's in other forms that they don't measure. It's crazy how we've actually literally had a lady fix her own cirrhosis, and we completely ignore these. But we definitely work on this, and we definitely work on this. Oh, I thought I'd go over this. So mild deficiency, mild zinc deficiency. Let's look at the symptoms. Anorexia, that's lack of appetite. Impaired wound healing, infection, altered taste, altered smell, weight loss, severe deficiency. I don't know how, oh, is that, I guess you're saying this is where severe deficiency starts. Hypogonadism in males, that would be low testosterone, guys. Diarrhea, alopecia, bullous pustular dermatitis. This could also go along with probably like cystic acne. Cerebral dysfunction, as in brain dysfunction. Wait, look at this. Impaired night vision due to associated vitamin A deficiency. I'm going to tell you guys something. There's a very weird thing in the research. When they have kids who are like starving, like literally starving, and they never get any meat, so they never get any zinc and they never get any protein, their eyes are falling apart. Sometimes they go in and they give them high doses of vitamin A and their eyes get better and they go, oh my gosh, you had a vitamin A deficiency. There's a weird thing that vitamin A can do, and it can stand in. It can somehow metabolically like stand in for zinc in certain ways, but it's going to eventually cause vitamin A toxicity and cause problems. And the whole, we're lacking proteins and we're lacking zinc, these critical things to make things function, is going to bite them eventually. So whenever you see something, and I've shown this in other research, whenever you see something that says it's a vitamin A deficiency, I can tell you that the research shows that it is either also a protein deficiency or a zinc deficiency or a taurine deficiency, including night vision issues and dry eye. I just wanted to go over this. This is funny because I thought this was kind of part of the whole PSYOP thing, because I like zinc picolinate. I have been using zinc supplements with people. I mean, I started in practice 2006. I've been using zinc supplements with people for a very long time. I have found, after trying all these different types, people be like, you try this type, you try this type. Yeah, I've tried all of them. And I've been doing, ever since I started hair testing, I've really been watching it. I found that zinc picolinate works the best, and then zinc niacinate or nicotinate, which Kelsey brought to my attention, also works quite well. Okay. Most of the other zinc supplements that they use, I'm going to show you, are not good for you. And they're just not, I can tell you on hair tests and blood tests, they just don't work very well. I don't care what the research says. People will be like, but zinc glycinate in the study worked really well. And I'm like, no, it sucks. I don't see it work. Like, I tried it with people. I tried the OptiZinc. I tried the zinc glycinate. I tried all of this. Well, so Joe wants me to explain how I substantiate it. I've just watched, I used zinc orotate. I've used all these zincs, and I watched the hair test, and it doesn't respond. Or I have people come into me taking crap loads of zinc, and their zinc on their tests suck. So it's not working. So let's go over zinc replacement in this big zinc paper. I'm not saying this paper's good. I'm saying there's problem. This paper has problems, which is true for all the zinc stuff. There are several types of zinc formulations commercially available in Australia, which Australia is like prison planet. So they're going to have the worst stuff available. The most commonly used for zinc replacement are zinc sulfate. We went over why that sucked. Zinc acetate. Okay, so zinc bound to acetic acid, basically zinc bound to vinegar. Yay. The bioavailability of zinc differs between oral zinc supplements with the highest bioavailability and zinc bound to amino acids such as aspartate, cysteine, and histidine. I've tried zinc aspartate. I've tried zinc histidine. It didn't work worth crap. Followed by zinc chloride. Zinc chloride can actually get toxic. Sulfate, again, slows your detox. Acetate, again, I think acetic acid slows detox, with the lowest bioavailability in zinc oxide. And they go over all the common oral zinc preparations, and notice how picolinate is not in there. The stuff I found to work the best. What a crazy coincidence that they wouldn't even talk about zinc picolinate. Zinc niacinate, I think we're the only people out there selling it. So this paper highlights the importance of zinc deficiency and its replacement in patients with liver cirrhosis. There have been many potential beneficial effects of zinc replacement described, including a reduced incidence of hepatocellular carcinoma, that's liver cancer, a reduction in the severity and clinical impact of hepatic encephalopathy, that's important, a reduced incidence of SBP, I don't remember what SBP was, and an improvement in patients' quality of life is now what we're after. The strongest evidence to date for zinc use in patients with liver cirrhosis is in the management of hepatic encephalopathy, whereas liver cancer risk reduction remains unconfirmed at present. And one more thing, just because I love long-term studies, long-term zinc supplementation. For those of you who have been working with me for a while and have been supplementing for a while, long-term zinc supplementation improves liver function and decreases the risk of developing liver cancer. Patients with chronic liver diseases usually have lower concentrations of zinc, which decrease further as liver fibrosis progresses. Zinc supplementation appears to be effective at maintaining liver function and suppressing events and liver cancer development, especially among patients whose zinc concentration is greater than 70 micrograms per deciliter. So that is what I have on that stuff. Let me pull up the chat. Okay. Move that out of there. Okay. Joe, you gave me a couple of super chats, so let me look here. Darius asks, what are my thoughts on creatine and trimethylglycine? Okay. Those of you who know me well know that if you've been seeing the mega push for creatine right now, it was like, it's so totally safe. Just take as much as you can, like 20 grams a day. And everybody, you know, they're like, oh, this new study came out. There's something. Okay, first of all, do you think they would want us to have something so easily available, so cheap, that is like fixing people's brains and making people stronger? Do we actually think that there's going to be like consequence-free mega creatine dosing? I don't believe it. There's something that, this is why the methylene blue is coming out and the nicotine is coming out and the ivermectin and all this stuff is coming out now. There's a reason. They're trying to do like, so can these things be synergistic? Could creatine combined with something else be synergistically extra bad? Sure, why not? Why not? We can figure it out later. I just get to watch from the, you know, I'm one of the looky-loos driving down the freeway looking at the accidents, and I'm just driving along going, there's going to be an accident ahead. I know it. I'm gonna see it when it happens, and then I'll go, oh yeah, you shouldn't have been driving like that. That's what I'm going to be saying about all these things. Am I going to be taking? There is what is Will? Is Will in the chat? Let me see this. Methyl. Okay. Okay, so Will hasn't been here. Anyway, Will brought this to my attention. Joe, if you want to share the screen. Will brought a couple of these studies to my attention. Urinary creatine and methylamine excretion following 4 times 5 grams a day or 20 times 1 gram per day of creatine monohydrate for 5 days. So methylamine is an aldehyde. So this is how much aldehyde you're peeing out. So it's going through your kidneys. Your kidneys are probably not very happy. Here, Joe, I'll get that link. So what they found, so they either did 4 times 5 grams a day or 20 times 1 gram a day for 5 days. Okay. Where is it? Basically what they found, the lower excretion of creatine, so if you want to, who's going to take a gram a day 20 times? suggests a greater retention in the body and most probably in the muscle. Lower and more frequent doses of creatine monohydrate appear to further attenuate or reduce the formation of methylamine. I do not believe, folks, that creatine is like everybody's like, it doesn't hurt your kidneys. It doesn't hurt your kidneys. I can tell you that my low back gets so stiff on creatine. I've seen multiple people on Twitter be like, I can't take creatine. My back will just be a wreck. I've seen multiple people say it. This is not some small thing. Again, most studies are not years long. I'm going to put it this way. If you want to mess with creatine, that's on you. 2 grams a day is the max I would suggest. You could take it all at once, but if you want to take 5 grams, 10 grams, 20 grams a day, go ahead. I mean, FAFO, I don't think there's a lot of research out there on decades of taking 20 grams of creatine a day. But all the YouTube influencers and all the social media influencers think you should take it, which is, again, remember when methylene blue came out and everybody was like, methylene blue helps your brain? Okay. Now everybody, how long has nicotine been around? How long has creatine been around? How long has methylene blue been around? How long has ivermectin been around? They've been around a long time, and coincidentally, all at once, they're all being pushed as like these magical new discoveries. You're being psyoped. Absolutely. Absolutely being psyoped. Oh, Joe was just asking, creatine monohydrate is the supplement, Joe. Creatinine is the kidney marker. And if you take creatine, your creatinine on your blood test will go up. If you're a bigger guy, like bigger muscles, your creatinine will tend to be higher. There's all sorts of stuff with that. I'm just saying, you want to take creatine at high doses, FAFO. Trimethylglycine, you were asking about, we don't use trimethylglycine because we fix methylation issues by detoxing and using flush niacin. We don't use trimethylglycine. If people are using it when they first come to us, by the time they are fixed enough, they won't need it anymore. They won't want it anymore. It might even turn on them because it's putting too many methyl groups in them. So we do not go around trying to exogenously or from outside of the body mess with methylation inside the body. We let the flush niacin detox, and we do all the other detox stuff to fix it. I used to do methylation functional medicine nonsense, and it didn't work, and it didn't make sense most of the time, because you'd have people who their questionnaire would say they're over methylators and their blood test would say they're over methylators, and then you try to give them the over methylator stuff and they'd have a horrible reaction. Then you give them the under methylator stuff and they'd feel better. It doesn't make any sense. Then you learn about the flush niacin test for methylation, right? If you take a small dose of flush niacin and you flush, then they'll say you're an under methylator. Okay. And if you can take a high dose of flush niacin and you don't flush, you're an under methylator or an over methylator. But wait, I used to flush on 50 milligrams of flush niacin, and now I take 2,500 a day and I don't flush. So what, did I change my methylation state? Did I change my MTHFR? Forget about the methylation crap. It's another distraction. It's another thing that's not going to ever fix you. The people who do, and just so you guys know, the practitioners who give you a ton of supplements based on your genetic testing, that is just the worst approach I've ever seen. I've never seen people more disappointed in an approach than that kind of approach. So, okay. Darius asked, does a caloric deficit help with detox? Probably not. I don't know how it would. You might want to watch my weight loss and toxicity video. I would suggest watching that one. Because trying to purposely reduce fat via a caloric deficit will dump tons of toxins into your system. It's been shown in the research. And then your body will desperately try to shove that back into the fat tissue that's left. So then you have extra concentrated toxic fat left on your body. And this is why a lot of people, when they lose a lot of weight and they get really healthy, and you're like looking at them, they work out like fiends and they are super strict on their diet, and then all of a sudden they die early. And you're like, why did that happen? Well, they didn't get rid of their toxicity. It's all just stuck deeper in them and concentrated more. Darius's next question: when will the Love Your Penis protocol be released? I'm going to leave that to each guy on their own. Each guy can figure out that approach on their own. That's not something I'm going to be writing about. We are going to work on, if you guys didn't notice, I just got my new, I went to the barber the other day and got a haircut, and I kind of like it. It's like the first actual hairstyle I've had in a while. So the hair growth, the hair regrowth stuff is working. It's coming in nice. It's my first, I think it's my third barber haircut in like 20 plus years, 25 years maybe. So I'm pretty excited about it. Kelsey likes how it looks, so that's the best thing. Okay, so let me go look. We are at 11:56. All right, let me look at these. Aaron, I'm not going to answer the question. The question is how humans survived and evolved for thousands of years until now when eating leafy greens and food containing vitamin A and carotenoids. Also, gorillas and monkeys eat tons of leafy greens. I am not a gorilla. I am not a monkey. Humans did not waste their time eating leafy greens out in the wild. There's no calories in them. They would waste no time picking leaves because the amount of energy they would put into picking leaves would be more than they would get out of them. Okay. Humans would always go, there's a hunting strategy where they would go after the highest calorie things in their local area. They would always go after the highest calorie stuff first, and then they would move down the list. Now, vitamin A is also absorbed with fat. And so if they are not eating a high-fat diet, and the last time I looked, there's not a lot of high-fat foods out there in a natural diet. Like, you're not going to just go and be eating nuts all day or avocados all day and then combining that with a bunch of high vitamin A foods. And then there's the whole fact of vitamin A toxicity came about partially. It really started when glyphosate came out. Ivermectin and glyphosate started really being used in the late 70s and early 80s. And then there's the jabs, and then there's supplements, and then there's people eating obscenely high vitamin A foods that didn't used to exist because they're all hybrids. There's tons of reasons for it. Just because, and have we really been around for millions of years? I don't know. I'm not placing any bets on either way. Here is where we are at. We are dealing with the problem here. I am leading the way on dealing with this problem. It is a problem. I don't care about people millions of years ago. That's not who I need to fix. I need to fix people in the US, especially today. So I don't care about people's great grandpa. I don't care what they ate. If you don't understand that we hand down toxicity generation to generation, then this is the problem with the argument. People be like, my great grandpa ate 40 eggs a day and he lived till he was 95. Okay, cool. You're sick in your 20s. And I'm not saying this to you, Aaron. I'm saying that people are sick now in their 20s. Their grandpa eating 40 eggs a day might have caused that problem. Do you understand how that can be handed down? So saying what people did in the past versus what they have to do today to get better does not help. We're not doing like appeal to tradition fallacy. We're not doing that. I don't do that. I look at what I'm dealing with today. I look at what works. I look at what makes sense, and then I do it. Okay. Bean there says, I started taking zinc 50 milligrams twice a day. Nobody told you to do that. And my gut started to bubble and I started farting like crazy. It's been a couple of weeks now. I'm still taking it and farting continues. What gives? You're overdosing. Here, let me tell everyone here that unless you are testing, first of all, I don't know what kind of zinc you're taking. You could be taking some kind of zinc that I don't use. Secondly, you're on 100 milligrams a day. Even when I have testing and I have somebody who's giving me good feedback, when I have testing, I very, 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 very rarely take somebody up to 100 milligrams a day. With testing, with regular testing, and with them regularly coming into my office hours to check in with me to make sure they are okay. You need to learn one of the most important sayings that we have here, which is, Doc, it hurts when I do this. Well, then don't do that. So if I say, if you are not testing, the max dose of zinc I would put you on a day is 30 milligrams a day of either zinc picolinate or zinc nicotinate or niacinate, and you're on 100 milligrams a day, I think we see the issue. You're over what I suggest. You're having symptoms. Doc, it hurts when I do this. So reduce your dose and potentially change the zinc that you're on. It may seem like I'm a little, people don't take zinc seriously enough. People really like to FAFO with zinc. They just think, oh, it's good for me. I'll just take as much as I want. Like, this happens all the time. Eat your meat and take the amount of zinc that you tolerate up to 30 milligrams, unless you're working with one of my facilitators and you're testing blood and hair, and we are talking about going above that. If you're not testing and you just decide to go above that, that's FAFO. That's on you. If you say you're getting symptoms from being on too much, I said multiple times in this that zinc toxicity is legit. You can take too much. You're getting symptoms. You don't like them. Go down. Hold on. I'm looking something up that Joe asked me. No. Hold on, Joe. Let me share this tab. Joe was asking. Someone asked in the chat, does NAD contain copper? Here it is, right here. Well, that's not zooming in very well. Anyway, there's no copper in NAD. Nope. So. Okay, so back to it. Christopher 3D says, Chris Masterjohn says zinc picolinate isn't absorbed and utilized by cells well because he tests so much for people. He doesn't recommend it and shows research that the body just dumps it. Can you comment on this? I think Chris Masterjohn is the sickest health guru out on the internet. And I think anybody who wastes their time listening to him deserves what they get. I can sit here and I'm helping people get better on a daily basis. And he spouts off saying stuff. And my results in the real world actually show that things work. And then I just so happen to get a lot of people who have been eating the WAPF way and the Chris Masterjohn way. And so I'm getting his fallout, and he's telling you that my zinc choice is bad. And I'm fixing some of the people that have been broken by his approaches. I'm going to say I don't care what Chris Masterjohn says. How's that? Okay. Oh, one last thing on. So this is gonna, some people are gonna get a little twisted about this. Okay, folks, soluble fiber. Well, fiber in general does decrease your zinc absorption a bit. Okay, it doesn't mean you're going to absorb none, but fiber will decrease your zinc absorption some. So of all the things that we talk about on the program, when people say, well, do I take this with this, or do I take it with food or without food, or what do I do? And they're trying to make it super complex. Okay. The biggest thing that you could do on the program to help maximize your zinc would be, if you have a meal of the day. Well, first of all, always take your zinc with food. Let me say that again. Always take your zinc with food. If you don't, you might get nauseous. I do think zinc can really increase your bile production. I think that's why it happens. You take zinc on an empty stomach, it causes a bile dump. It goes into your stomach. You get nauseous. You might even throw up. I saw my brother throw up once from a zinc lozenge he took on an empty stomach in the morning because he was feeling sick. And then he just barfed it all up. Okay, so zinc on an empty stomach can cause nausea or even vomiting. Zinc with a high fiber meal will not be absorbed as well as it could be. So how do we make all this work? Take your zinc with your lowest fiber meal of the day. Simple. That is the only, take this with this, don't do this with this. That's the only thing we all of our supplements we take with food. Otherwise, zinc would be best. So now let's say, okay, so people are going to come in and they're going to act all confused about this. This is not that hard, people. You're going to take your zinc if you can. First of all, if you don't take your zinc in a day, you don't get to refill your zinc deficiency. Perfection is the enemy of good enough. So you're going to take your zinc. If you have to take it with a high fiber meal, still take it. Don't not take it. Understand? So let's say your lowest fiber meal of the day, like for me, it would generally be breakfast. Okay. So I could take my zinc in the morning. I make sure I have food in my stomach before I take it. Let's say I forgot to take my zinc in the morning with my lowest fiber meal and I'm at dinner time. Oh no, there's fiber in my dinner. Whatsoever do I do, Dr. Smith? You take your freaking zinc with the meal. Okay? You still take it. Okay. If you don't take it, you get 0. Let's even just say that it's 70. Let's say you only absorb 70% of the zinc if you take it with a high fiber meal. Of the 100% that you could if you didn't. You still get 70%. 70% is better than 0. You understand? Don't let perfection be the enemy of good enough. Get the job done. Stop obsessing over minutia. And this is the only minutia that I'm giving you. Take your zinc with your lowest fiber meal of the day. If somebody says, well, I eat the same fiber at all 3 meals of the day, then that's what you get to deal with. Take it with one of them. Okay? So that doesn't start meaning to not eat meat with beans or not eat meat with oats. I'm saying if you're taking a zinc supplement, take it with your lowest fiber meal of the day. And I'm sure there's one of them. One of your 2 or 3 meals a day, or 4, however many you're eating. Okay? So, if somebody's eating 3 pounds of beef in a day, is it unlikely that you need to supplement it? Here's the answer. You don't get to know until you test. If you're not testing, you're just guessing. That's the answer to that one. Michael asked, how could zinc make my stools small and pale? I don't know, but here's the answer to that. Doc, it hurts when I do this. Well, then don't do that. You don't want small and pale stools. So if anything you ever take were to cause you that, don't do it. Yeah, I think I'm going to wrap it up. We're at 12. I got to get to the inner circle. Okay, so Joe, yeah, so let me just hit on a couple things before we go. So first, again, we did this show partially because of the new liquid zinc. I turned it over because that's how, okay, so you can kind of see like it's all shook up. There's no powder residue at the top. So if you get this bottle, okay, and it's been sitting in, you know, when we were getting it, it was in shipping, right? So it's settled pretty good. The first time you get this, you're just going to have to like just sit here with it for like a minute maybe, just to get all the powder off the bottom and get it in suspension. Then when it's in suspension, you can see it's all white, right? But if you turn it over and you see powder, a layer of powder still on the bottom, you just got more shaking to do. It's fine. This stuff is so much more like milky than the old stuff was. Those of you who have the old stuff, actually, I have the old stuff right here. This is the water and the liquid zinc. So that's what it was down there. And it's, when you shake it up, it's nowhere near, it doesn't get as milky. Now, one thing that we have added to the new liquid zinc picolinate, one thing that we've added, we did add xylitol from it's non-GMO xylitol from birch bark. No one would make it without something like either glycerol or glycerin or xylitol in it. They wouldn't make it. So xylitol is not bad for you, especially if we're talking about like if you took 30 milligrams of zinc from the liquid zinc, you're taking 15 drops, of which about half of that is xylitol. So you're taking 7.5 drops worth of xylitol. Your body makes 10 to 15 grams of xylitol a day. Ignore the research out there where they were trying to say people with more xylitol in their blood had more problems. Those people were toxic and they were not detoxing well. We make 10 to 15 grams of xylitol a day. If you eat sugar, you make alcohol in your system. Did you know that? You have to detox that too. Would it make sense that if they found people with higher amounts of alcohol in their system from eating food, that they would also have a higher risk of disease, because that would tell you that their detox is slower. Anyway, the xylitol makes it, if you want to have your kids take it, you know, it's sweeter. And it also keeps the stuff suspended better. So anyway, that's the change to it. Again, it's on the store. It's in the VIP store for those of you who want to order it, who are in the Love Your Liver program. Then we have, okay, so about consultations. Testing and consultation packages. If you guys want to work with one of our facilitators to do the testing, again, we do hair testing for zinc and all the other stuff that the hair test does. And then we do blood testing for ferritin, zinc, copper, vitamin A. If you're an international person, you're going to have to get those labs on your own, because I can't order lab tests in other countries. But anyway, if you want to talk to Julie or use our Contact Us page to ask questions about the consults and packages, that's fine. Remember, you get, so if you buy a package, you get lifetime access to the Love Your Liver program. You get a consult with the health facilitator of your choice. You get, what do you get? You get 6 months access to the office hours, which is our weekly follow-up. That includes all 3 of our health facilitators and myself. We all do a session each week. And then, yeah, that's the main stuff. It includes the tests that we can do. Like if you're international, you got to get your own blood test, and we knock the price down because of that. So anyway, that's the testing and consultation stuff. If you guys want to watch, so for those of you who didn't see episode 203 is not in the live section of the of my YouTube page. It is in the videos section, because yeah, I had to edit some things out so YouTube wouldn't take it down. I wanted to make sure that it wouldn't get taken down. So I edited it right after it came up, and I can't put it back up under live because it's not the live video anymore. Anyway, then we have, so if you want to see those, that's in the live section of the YouTube page. Nutrition, on X, Twitter, I'm NutriDetect. 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 Yes, I can spell. And then for those of you who are into Rumble now more, we do have a Rumble channel. That's where you can find all the videos. And finally, I kind of already did this in a little order, but to find all of our stuff, to find all of our links, that's at nutritiondetective.com. You can find the Love Your Liver program there under membership. You can also go to members.nutritiondetective.com for that. For those of you who are totally new to this, there's also the Madness of Modern Nutrition email course that you can sign up for on nutritiondetective.com. And for those of you who are new to toxic bile paradigm or toxic bile theory, you would want to watch episodes 53 and or 71. That kind of covers all the basics of this new medical paradigm that we are helping to fix people with. So that's it. Hope you all enjoyed that. I think I covered all the questions on zinc that I could. Don't overdose on zinc. Don't do dumb things like take crazy amounts. Now, I will tell you that I have let me give you one anecdote real quick about zinc before I wrap up. I was talking to a client just yesterday, and I took him up to a dose higher than 30 milligrams, significantly higher. And he's in contact with me. We had our consult yesterday. And he was saying that his libido, I mean, this is also a 300-pound man. This is a 300-pound man, been working with me for a while. And I took him up because of not only his weight, but his blood test and his hair tests. And then he got back to me with his response, and he was like, my libido has been like outrageous. My wife is kind of surprised with it. So zinc can be a very good thing. Just don't. But here's another. Let me say that. So he's doing the testing and consultation. He's getting the test. There was another gentleman I knew in the physical culture arena. He was kind of a fitness influencer. He was definitely a fitness influencer. His name got very big for a while. He used to take 150 milligrams of zinc a day, mainly because he wanted it to help force his sexual function to be better. Like he was a follower of Charles Poliquin, and Charles Poliquin loved to megadose everything. Now Charles Poliquin's dead. What a weird coincidence. What a weird coincidence. Just like the guy on Facebook, the MD who pushed megadosing vitamin A and megadosing vitamin D when you get sick. Wait, he's dead too. Wow. And another guy who did the vitamin D advocacy group on Facebook, he's dead too. Like ivermectin group leaders are dead. Like, folks, stop taking the pharma and stop megadosing. Stop it. You're killing yourself. So anyway, he took this 150 milligrams zinc for years. And then all of a sudden, he started having problems, skin problems and other things. And then what he would have to do, this is what he told me he did. He would stop taking the zinc and he would take copper for, 4 or 5 days. And he'd feel better. But then he'd start to feel bad from that. And then he'd go back to the megadosing zinc. And he'd take that for a while and he'd feel better, but then he'd eventually feel bad from that. And then he'd go back to the copper. And I was like, he was asking me, what do I do? And I was like, I don't know. You broke the system. I don't know how to get you out of this. Like back then I didn't know about vitamin A toxicity. And I know that this guy had really bad vitamin A toxicity. And now I see him on the internet and he is all gray in like his 40s, I think. Like this is serious. Don't megadose. I don't care what you read on the internet. And this is where the creatine thing is really, I see it. I see the train wreck coming. I think it's going to be bad. So anyway. Oh, so one more super chat. Thanks. It was, thanks, Dr. Smith. No question, just support. It's Gabe. See you at the inner circle. Well, thank you, Gabe. Gabe's been with me a long time. Thank you for that, Gabe. And thank you for all the other super chats. And I guess we're going to wrap it up now that I've covered all that stuff. I hope you all enjoyed this. I know I might have been a little gruff at the end there, but I just really remember that I'm like, in a certain way, I'm like the nutrition dad where I don't want you to hurt yourself in your enthusiasm to get better. Don't get impatient. Don't get greedy and think that doing more faster is going to fix you faster. You want to do it at the right speed, right? You can drive to, I told you about the salt in the food on the steak. You can oversalt it, then you don't want it. Think of that as like taking too much of things. You can drive too fast on the highway and go off the road and kill yourself. Like, you want to get there in one piece. So don't go and do all this. When you see mega dosing right now, these days, where they're like, oh, we never knew this about creatine, or, oh, we never knew this about methylene blue, even though it's been around 120 years. Are you seriously telling me that you think the big tobacco was withholding all these magical health benefits of nicotine? They are the sellers of nicotine. They make it. That's their job. They needed to replace their tobacco income because people aren't smoking. So they're just purifying it into nicotine and using social media influencers to sell you on it, and now claiming that there's magical things happening from taking nicotine. It's a stimulant. Stimulants look good short term. They all fall apart long term. It's a pesticide. So anyway, don't fall prey to all the nonsense psyops going on right now, especially mega dosing or with selling pharma stuff or selling big tobacco stuff. Don't fall for it. Okay? So I hope you all have a great week. I will talk to you all later. Bye now.
Come on. Do it. Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it. Do it.
Who is doing it?
Do it.
Do it.
All of it.
Do it.
Come on. Do it now.
And I will do the rest.